Hi, welcome back to our podcast series, Buy Your Kids a House. Again, I'm Matt, this is Andrew. And in this little series, we're going to go over kids and youth sports and activities. I know those things can be a lot of fun, but they can also be insanely expensive.
Seriously, even for me, someone without kids, I've noticed how expensive it gets with the cost of equipment, traveling teams, summer camps. It's more than rent sometimes.
Yeah, so if you caught our previous episodes, you know we're talking about financial strategies and creating that game plan. So for kids, sports, and activities, we're going to go over how to create that financial plan and make sure a good roadmap, make sure it all fits into that budget and everything, so we don't go broke while doing so.
Yeah, definitely. Stay tuned. All right, so today we're going to be breaking down the different costs, and not just sports, but the arts, camps, all of those different things to incorporate into, because I know it's not just about sports, and not every kid likes sports. So we're going to go over all the different costs of that and break it down and kind of look at what might be worth it. Is quality better than quantity? Things like that. Also, I don't have as much experience in this as you do because I don't have kids. So what are some of the things and thoughts that you have?
Yeah, so again, we're going to be, throughout this show and everything, we're going to look at all the different aspects, whether it's, Travelball versus rec ball, different activities, dance and cheer, summer camps, because again, a lot of times now when kids are out of school, we got to figure out a way, hopefully, because most households these days are two-income families,
Right.
So you got to figure out ways for the kids to be occupied in those activities, along with also then the cost of the equipment going into it. My daughter plays softball, really big into that aspect. I will fully admit, even though she's 10 years old, we have a $450 bat. So we've kind of gotten a little extreme and everything with that, but with that, how we're looking at the aspect of the benefit of it. She also does, also back to softball, pitching lessons, hitting lessons. Do we see the benefit from that? Is that worth the cost? How far down the road do these also these training facilities like the bat is a big indoor facility and everything that also does indoor batting cages and training. Where do you see, is it worth having to go through that process? A friend of mine, their kid is big into travel soccer in the area.
Yeah.
Spends several $1,000s a year on the signups for that. Also having to pay for the different uniforms, plus the actual travel part of Travelball and everything. So you're having to travel, whether it's in your car locally, hotels, food when you're traveling, potentially also even flights. A lot of these actually travel states, a few states away and even further to play these things. And we're looking at the aspect of it, is there actually benefit from it? Are they going to have a better long-term future in that sport or goal? What is your goal with that? Is your goal to your kid to play in a high school team? Is your goal for the kid to get into college? Is your goal to get a college scholarship,
Right,
or play even beyond college? Or is it possibly some of your own daddy ball ego check? Because I fully admit, sometimes it's hard not to want your kids to excel better than what you even played in your days. So are you looking at a money pit you're throwing money into, hoping to have your kid have an ability or chance to go further than what you have?
right.
And then it's a fine line. It's a hard struggle and everything with finding that balance in there. So with that aspect of things, is it worth it? How does it fit your budget? Where into your 50, 30, 20 budget rules, where does it fall into?
Right.
Because again, a lot of times we stretch ourselves beyond our own tax bracket and everything, because also there is a kind of keeping up with the Joneses aspect to it.
Right.
You're looking at it my daughter first started playing Little League softball, and even right then you had some parents kind of nose in the air, ready your kid plays rec ball, my kid plays travel ball.
Right. Kind of like the judgment, it's almost like a societal tier, almost.
No, it's become very much a societal tier of if your kid's not good enough for travel ball, but what is good enough for travel balls?
Right.
Yes, there are teams you try out for, but there's also some that as long as your check clears, you've made the team.
Exactly. They don't care as long as you're in.
Yeah, and again, is it fun to have your check cleared and go to these tournaments and get beat all the time? Does that help your kid boost their ego or anything like that?
Right.
Or are you paying to go to these tournaments that are easier for you to win? Yes, you get the little necklace chain, the ring, the whatever and everything, but
Right.
at the end of the day, is it worth it? You won the triple silver, bronze, iron bracket to get the ring on
No, exactly. How much did you spend to get to that point?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, also, unfortunately, as it still stands, so my daughter plays softball. With that, there's also still the aspect of what is the future for her, unfortunately, women's sports, because there is a fine line struggle My wife and a lot of her family members all played college soccer.
Right.
Once that was over, like that was the end of that road.
Yeah, they didn't continue.
One of her cousins was a pitcher in college, and everything. Once that ended, she became a coach for a minute and everything, but even coaching that didn't really pay the most.
What I was gonna say is probably comparable to like teacher pay.
Not even. She was her first. I'm trying to remember exactly. It was $8,500 in New York State as the assistant, pitching coach or whatever on the team. And so here she was fresh out of college. Yeah, it was glorified charity. But yet they wanted full-time hours. It was very hard for her to find another job to fit the needs for that and everything. So she ended up having to quit that dream of coaching, which was difficult because her entire life was softball.
That's crazy.
So again, unfortunately with women's sports, there for the most part still is an end of the road that isn't quite the financial dream of what a lot of people hope for. A lot of times on boys sports and everything, your hope is you're going to become the next in the major leagues, the NFL, the NBA. You're going to get millions of dollars and you're going to win the lottery because you've now made it that level.
Right.
There isn't that for the most part, unfortunately, in women's sports. So with that, also there's a financial investment of going into that worth the reward from that.
Right. Or maybe could it be used as a tool for scholarships to help the cost of college while you're there too? Maybe it's not, the goal isn't to go professional after college, but be able to just have something fun that's also paying for part of your college.
Well, in scholarships and obviously, getting a full ride to a school is a dream for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But also is the aspect of a ride to a school that you necessarily didn't want to go to worth going to. So ironically, my wife's cousin went to a school that wasn't really on her original radar choices. She loved to go in there and had a great time there. Yeah. But originally that wasn't a school that she had picked. She went there because they're the one that gave her a free ride. So are you sacrificing your college education just for the ability to play? Mm-hmm. Or also, should you just, as a parent, open up a 529 plan and plan for your kids' college and have that paid for so you don't have the stress of paying for college and everything? Because again, if you start off young, even younger, like newborn baby, and pay a little bit each time, by the time they hit 18 or entering college, you could have them pick pretty much whatever college they want to go to.
I'm going to say you already have that money set up. Yeah. So is that the better option, or is the other? And, you can mix and match too. Put them together, save the money as well as also hopefully if they like the sport and are good at the sport, get some type of scholarship because then that money could be allocated other ways.
Yeah. And, and with that growth of that money and everything, there definitely can also be more flexibility because as I mentioned before, going to a school that wasn't necessarily on your radar just because they offer you this college scholarship versus... having the money set aside, you can pick whatever you want to go to. For the most part, maybe not Ivy League schools, but most of your state schools and everything should be able to be covered. Mm-hmm. And so having that element of money there gives that more, financial freedom with that. Now, if in turn you happen to get a scholarship to the place you want to go to, then you can use that money towards other expenses. But, the here and now, you're paying so much money and everything for the aspect of Travelball or dance teams or cheer teams and having to pay the outfits. Plus, there's also the time commitment. Again, my wife and I both work. We're scrambling around trying to get practices on time. We're constantly passing the hot potato kid, getting your car. We have to split up sometimes of going. My son will have golf practice here. My daughter has softball practice over there. So I don't get to watch her play or things like that because I have to be at the different aspects of things. And just getting out of work as the workday. We used to be 9 to 5. Now it's becoming more 8 to 6 and 8 to 6:30 and 8 to 7.
Just keeps increasing.
Yeah, especially when you are in your mid-tier upper management roles, they start looking at work of ooh, you can't really leave early because that's a bad example for people you work with. You want to be the one in the office. Why aren't you part of the family here working all the time? And so you're trying to get out in time to go pick up your kid from school. My kids are in aftercare, so they're leaving school longer. But you're scrambling in, grabbing them, throwing the outfit to them. Here's a peanut butter sandwich, scarf it down, and get to practice on time. Yeah. And then you also have, the sports coach side, which they want the kids there, at practice, and they usually practice on time means late. Usually have to be a little bit earlier, and they want to see you warming up. They want to get you out there. So you're at the practice before the practice, as we jokingly calling it and everything. We're out there warming up, pitching reps, catching reps in, showing off a little bit, hey, look at me, I'm dedicated,
what
I'm
I
here.
learned. Yeah.
And or you'll even get the last minute text oh, hey, by the way, we moved this game or picked up this game. Now you got to scramble around the whole schedule and everything. So fitting that in is so tough.
That's crazy. And I wanted to also talk about, I know we talked about the college aspect and the benefit of cost of that, if, the scholarships and everything. But what about the fun aspect? Like, you're also paying for fulfillment and having fun, specifically for the kids. So, like, it's a two-part question. The first part is, how have you seen, like, your daughter and your son, like, just light up while they enjoy this and the fun that they're having, and what does that bring to you? And second, you mentioned that expensive bat. Has your daughter seen like an improvement in the distance she's hitting, and does that give her more confidence to keep training and keep going?
Absolutely. So the first part, there is that fine line of if the kid wants to play a sport or does the parent want the kid to play the sport.
Yep.
I will fully admit, my kids both started off in soccer. While my wife was more into soccer, I don't know as much about soccer. So I was very supportive of them being there, but I didn't really know what's going on. So
Right.
I'm there rooting for them, but like the nuance of the sport, I was more baseball, football. That was what I grew up with. And I'm not saying that I forced them to baseball or softball and everything, but it happened to be what they chose to try next. And we saw it instantly with my daughter more of a flourishment in that sport. So when it got to the point she was good enough both in soccer and in softball, but we're like, hey, we don't have enough time today. You got to pick one, and she decided to pick softball. We got to go that route. And so going that process, then we're like, my son, like, hey, he saw his sister playing that and everything, so then he stopped wanting to play soccer.
Right.
Gave baseball a try. Didn't really like baseball as much. Now, fully admit that, hey, it's his decision.
Right.
I mean, we gave it to him, like, this is, if you want to keep going with this, we're here supportive for you. We just wanted to do something. We wanted to pick something. So right now, he pivoted from baseball to golf. So again, that seems where he's flourishing. He's like that one-on-one time. He's really enjoying that. Whereas my daughter on the softball side, really, really flourishing in that aspect of, the team aspect, being out there, playing in the dirt, getting out there. And then from that, then, as she grew in that, that's when we started investing more in the gear. Now, I will be the one to admit, I was hesitant originally of getting the more expensive bat because my daughter is not the largest of people yet. She's only 10 years old, but even from that, she's a scrawnier 10-year-old and everything.
Right.
So the muscle isn't quite there yet. Like, I have a hard time getting her to eat protein, like, bulk up, do push-ups, do pull-ups. But as we were getting that cusp of turning from 8U to 10U and then 10U to 12U, the different tiers of the team sports, I started seeing it became like an arms race, and all of a sudden you started seeing like all the nicer bats hanging up in there, and there's my daughter with like an entry level bat, and so it just kind of became that keep up with the Joneses aspect. So we bought her the nicer bat, and then got her with a hitting coach, and while it may not pay off for everyone, it did pay off about 2 weeks ago. My daughter hit her first home run.
All right.
And in the video, you might be able to find it online. You might find some sort of fool screaming in the background as she's going around. So. It was very nice seeing that aspect of her running around the bases and everything, and getting home, and feeling that excitement. Now they also say with that confidence also comes with the aspect of also look good, feel good, play good. So as the kids say, the drip, the swag, all that stuff. Like she's also got the nicer batting gloves, the elbow guard, those types of things. So when you're in there with the nicer bat, nicer gloves, you feel good.
You're ready to go.
Because especially when it comes to hitting, confidence in the box is a lot of what you're having to do when you're in there.
Yeah.
So I am fully guilty of buying. We got the Bruce Bolt gloves. The nicer Easton Ghost bat. Things on those. So there is that balance of everything with there.
Right.
But again, the proof's in the pudding with her hitting a home run. Like
I was gonna say, it's already there, and it's not been that long since she's had the bat.
No, she's only had it for 3 months now. Probably just about 2 months now and everything.
Yeah.
So and a few hitting lessons, and we've seen rapid improvement in that area.
Wow.
So yes, the ball definitely travels further when you have the nicer bat with that, but also comes technique, also the better swing.
Right.
But,
I mean, and then you get the added joy of seeing her hit the home run and run around. Like you said, you were probably more excited than she was.
Yeah,
she was still probably in that moment of like, what just happened? What just happened? Run. Oh, okay, I'm running now. Let's just run.
Yeah, my kids keep watching the video nonstop, not because of her hitting the ball, but because of Dad screaming and yelling the last few seconds of her crossing home plate and everything.
Yeah.
So, there's a little bit of a crazy parent in the stands and everything doing that.
Well, you have to have those moments too, though. I mean, you're putting in all this time, money, and effort into it as well as she enjoying it, but it's a fulfilling reward to you as well.
It is, and pay back on investment, I guess. And so you get a little bit of return on that, but it is also nice, to see those moments because those are the moments they're going to remember. Just
right.
like I remember moments when I played when I was younger, and obviously those days are long, long behind me. But seeing those moments now for her, that she'll have those memories that carry forward.
Yeah.
And it goes also again. My son in golf, I saw him working on. He was very happy with his chip shot yesterday.
All
He
right.
was able to get it. Finally go a little straighter than he had been having, getting it on the green. So you're seeing those moments of growth of what he's able to learn from that, and also having his own gear from there. He likes having the bag with all the clubs, and he's going out there, and he's got his little polo and going out there ready to go, and
it's his own things,
Yeah.
like his sister has the softball, the bats, and all of that, but he gets his own equipment specific to him.
That is his sport, his area, his domain, and different aspect of being a solo individual sport versus a team sport, but finding that balance of what they like with that, and then that carries over also into the aspect of what also is struggles within sports is also what used to be in my day was the seasonality of sports.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, also at a younger age, they want you to specialize in sports. So, as I mentioned, my daughter struggled with the idea of she was enjoying soccer, she was enjoying softball, became the clash of a head of like where we could fit it in schedule wise. Nowadays, sports they pretty much want to be year round of picking one. And at what age do you find that element of like you dedicating too early and too young? At what point? My daughter last summer went to Orlando City Soccer Club, the Pride, the women's team had a day camp, and she went to it. And I specifically asked her, I'm like, hey, when they have a panel of players and you get to ask questions, ask them, at what age did you start specializing in soccer? Because I knew their answer, especially from a slightly older generation. Now, granted, I say slightly older; they were 20s, but but like they were still at least adults. And I was like, and I knew that a lot of them were going to say that they didn't start specializing until they're a lot older, showing that we've had this shift now of specializing at a young age. Famously, Kobe Bryant came and asked Michael Jordan, hey, when his kids were growing in sports, like, hey, what drills and activities were you doing at 6, 7, 8 years old with basketball and everything? Because he's like, I'm having a hard time struggling to remember what I was doing when I was younger. So what drills did you do to make you so great at that young age? And Michael Jordan famously told Kobe Bryant, I wasn't playing basketball then. I was playing baseball. Like that was his passion at that time.
Right.
And obviously, Jordan being the greatest of all time and everything. Why are we now so focused at such a young age, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, to specialize in one sport?
Well, right, and it's important to try different things to really know what you like specifically. Because if you're like your son, he didn't really care for baseball, so he probably didn't put a lot of effort into it. I'm sure it got to a point where he's just not really interested, not really wanting to go as much. But when you're passionate about it and you really enjoy something, you're gonna put 110% in at that point. Versus if the kid just doesn't really like it, they're gonna not care as much and put less.
Well, and also you have the burnout aspect of even if it's something you like.
True.
If you're just playing it all day, every day, year round, nonstop, and everything, at what point does it stop becoming fun?
Right.
Versus it being like, hey, I do 3 or 4 months of softball or baseball.
Right.
I'm doing 3 or 4 months of basketball. I'm doing 3 or 4 months of soccer, and you're having that rotation element to it and keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
And then also you have being a well-rounded athlete. Different parts of athleticism you gain from different sports and everything. So obviously basketball you're getting more explosive movements. You're trying to get the jump shots, possibly even building towards dunking. The quick sprints up and short stops. In soccer you're building that endurance because you're just running the whole time.
Right.
So you're building those types of endurance elements. And then in baseball and everything, you're getting the strength movements. So you're swinging the bat, you're throwing a ball, you're building those strength elements. So to create a well-rounded athlete, we should be potentially trying to do multiple sports in a year, but that's kind of looked down upon nowadays. Right. And I don't know how to fix that quite yet. I struggle, as I just say. My daughter plays softball and my son plays golf. Partially because I don't know how to tell either one of them, like, hey, we're going to take a pause from this and play something else for a moment, and it's kind of looked down upon.
Right. No, it's because, like you were saying, I've noticed that as well, where it's just one sport throughout. Versus when we were in high school, there was football in the fall, and then you had basketball or baseball in the spring. Or basketball a little bit later on. But it's crazy that you just now they expect so much year round just from one, even on not even a college level.
No. Again, my kids are 7 and 10 and everything. So at that young of an age. And they're not even in middle school yet. We're not even playing on a middle school team. We're not playing on a high school team.
Right.
And even in my high school days, again, as I mentioned, I was football, baseball. I had a seasonality to it.
Right.
And also I had time to I did band. I was also a nerd. Everything along those lines. So there was an ability to fit those things in.
Right.
And I don't know now if you really can, without being shunned a little bit, like, oh, you're not as dedicated to this as you should be. Like, that now, your kid now might sit on the bench a little bit more because even though the skill set's there, but because they weren't there the whole season, the whole year-round aspect of it. Yes, in rec sports there seems to be a spring and a fall, but if you're not at both, like, when spring rolls around, like, you might be shoved back a little bit more.
Right.
And a lot of these travel teams are year round. Like, there is no break in them. Like, a lot of them play
Just
throughout the
going. Wow.
summer vacation, winter breaks, spring breaks.
Wow.
Like, a lot of them plan trips during your spring break, so you travel with it to somewhere else. And
so then that cuts into family vacation time or just family time at home, things like that as well.
Well, the family vacation becomes the Travelball trip, and it's like where is the benefit from that? Like, one of my friends, his friend of a friend, basically, so he was in the DC area. His son was on the better team, so it was a few towns over. So he had to pass through the towns to get to his team, and they went on a travel tournament from DC to Colorado to end up playing the team that they used to drive past to get to the better team. So all the teams in the DC area traveled to Colorado to have this tournament when they could just play each other in DC. So where is the element of, like, winning from that versus spending all the money on the flights, the hotel, the food, entering the tournament, because there's a fee to enter these tournaments. Like, it's not cheap.
That's crazy.
So again, where do we find the balance on that? I don't know. Those are a lot of things we're going to try to explore in this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's crazy, like you said, where do you find the balance? And sometimes you just have to do it and try and figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. And we're going to look into different costs, and obviously, as I just mentioned, a lot with softball and golf, but we're going to look into a lot of the elements of dance and cheer, scouting organizations, Girl Scouts as well, and then also touch on it briefly, but summer camps, the rising costs of that, because again, for being a 2-income household, when your kids are out of school for a couple months, you got to figure out something to do, and each of these summer camps are several hundreds of dollars a week per kid.
Yeah.
And if you have multiple kids, that's a lot.
I was gonna say,
and what are you getting from that? And then a lot of them don't even fit the time frame that you need to do for when you're working. So what we're going to look into, how that fits in, where does it benefit from there?
Right.
And how do we get to the point where we are okay and comfortable with what we're doing? Also, just ability to say no. I need to work on that. And maybe everyone here can help me work on that a little bit too, and everything. Because again, you got to find that balance to say no, because you obviously you look at your kid, you want the best for them. So with that, like, if you're seeing everyone else do it, like, it's hard to say no to them. It's hard to say no to the coaches. Hard to say no to the organization. So maybe together we'll come together and figure out where it is we need to say no, and create that hard line in the sand and what's better for everything moving in the future, of where that balance is.
Right. Well, with that, these are all great topics that we're going to be diving in, and I'm super excited to continually learn about all this stuff. But we also want to hear from you. Like always, like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think, if your kids are in sports, if they're not in sports, camps, dance, different things like that, and what challenges have you found to keep them interested or keeping up with the costs and things like that. It adds up.
Yeah, no, it's have you had to take on side hustles if your kids sports and everything? Like, it's tough. Like, I'm selling all my Pokemon cards.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's tough and everything, but definitely we're going to do this journey together, and we're going to explore this all together. And like you said, please let us know also how things are in your area, because again, we've always said before, we're in the Orlando area. A lot of these are what's specific to Florida, but how the sports, like, I always hear horror stories of hockey. We don't have that as much in Florida. Yes, we do have hockey, but it's not quite as big in Florida for kids sports. But the equipment, the ice rental, all that. So please tell us about what is in your area. In mountain climbing sports and everything. Like, we don't have that many mountains in Florida. Not necessarily our forte. Sugarloaf Mountain, big hill. It's a giant hill. So how do those aspects fit in of the cost of that rock climbing sports there? So please let us know what's going on in your area, and then we'll dive into where it fits in that budget. So
absolutely. And
check out our other shows on there, and if you like what you saw, join us for the whole ride here. There's going to be a lot going on with this channel.
Absolutely. Till next time.